Oh, hello everyone. You know what? Hold on one second. I printed something. Thanks. I printed off your exam so that I can make a key. This is my printer. You want to see it? It's right there. Anyways, how is everyone doing? Great. It's a lovely day to be alive, you know? Living the dream. Living the dream. Being funny. My boss used to say that all the time when I'd ask him how he was doing. He was living the dream. And then he would be really crabby and you're like, is this your dream? Because I'm not sure that this is a good dream to have right here. Why is my window open? I don't know, but I should close it. Why is it not closing? And your computer's just like not functioning. Just let that go. Oh, there it goes. Ooh, we have such a small class today. Oh, they're all coming. They'll be coming around the mountain when they come. Yeehaw. They'll be coming around the mountain when they come. Oh, they'll be coming around the mountain. They'll be coming around the mountain. They'll be coming around the mountain when they come. I'm coming up with another song. I just, you know. Matthew, did you want to say something? I was singing, and I think you were like, whoa, I'll hold off and wait till the song's done.
I said extra credit.
I legit, there's a part of me that kind of wants to give you something that says like, thanks for showing up for the last day of class, but we'll see if everybody else gets on, and so then maybe we'll do some kind of, actually it's not a bad idea, although they're starting to come on now, so
yeah, it's kind of falling apart.
Yeah, they're like, oh, like it literally, if it had been the 11 of you guys, I would have for sure been like, thanks for showing up, but you know, maybe a percentage of the class. What do you think about that? It's good thinking though, Matthew. Way to be entrepreneurial and, you know, getting it out there. Okay, so it's slightly after class, and so I can probably start doing something. Thanks. Welcome to the last day of, not lecture because we're reviewing. I mean, I have more material we can definitely cover. We can talk about market segmentation and follow up on the hype cycle and some other things, but I thought it would be important to talk it through as a review session before we move on to the rest of it. Our little bit of housekeeping is that we, as you know, to do the evaluations, I know you get those emails and they're annoying and it's frustrating, and I know you have to go online and click buttons and things. They're super helpful. I mean, the numbers are great from, you know, whatever you want to put in there, but like also really valuable is like the feedback you give. Cause I mean, I appreciate it in terms of like helping me, you know, improve your class or what you liked or didn't like, or, you know, and things in which that, so normally I would give you like some kind of like, hey, fill this out. And it tells me like what you liked and didn't like about the class, or about the teaching style. And so if you don't want to put that on the evaluations, or you don't have a time, or you think about something later, if you shoot me an email, you can wait till after grades, or if you're concerned about that, or anyways, just wait till after grades, then there's no question about anything. But yeah, I'd appreciate any comments. To give you value, if I get 90% of the class to do their evaluations, I'll give everybody a 1% bonus. And if someone's at your house and they were like, whoa, that sounds like really fun time, they wanted to peek their head in for a minute, that's how excited they were. Anyways, I just saw like quick, like, hey camera.
What happened?
Huh?
What happened?
Somebody's head came into your screen for just a minute, but they were like, whoa, it's exciting. They're like, oh, never mind, I'm out of here. Which is like a quick flash. I was all excited. I thought maybe somebody else wanted to participate in AREC 442 as well. You know.
Yes, we have a very captive audience.
Yeah, you know, they listen to my song. Anyways, so in order to give everybody a benefit, if you do evaluation, I get 90%. As of Thursday morning, when I check it, everybody will get an extra percentage point in their grade. As of right now, I think it's like 54%. So gonna need a lot more of you to like participate on that. Basically 90% for your class means like 2. If it gets up to like 2 or 3 people cannot do it, which means that I need almost everybody to do it. So just saying, you can't really free ride on this. I see you, Thomas. We can't cross that. So yeah, so evaluations, that'd be lovely. All the classes up to this moment should be online on the playlist. You should go to the Zoom link, and then you can click the playlist and see any classes that we've had up to this point. If you're confused by anything, obviously send me an email. We can Zoom chat. It's hard to have office hours because then it just means I have to sit on a Zoom with nobody on it, and that's really awkward. So if you have any follow-up questions, let me know, and I definitely will be willing to help or respond in any way I can. Yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping things. Oh, I guess I'll just tell you, your papers due Thursday. There's now a spot for online submission for those online. I just need one person from each group to turn them in because it's a group assignment. And then your exams have been changed. You have 2 hours for the exam. I don't think it's a 2-hour exam. It's the same size of an exam that I think I have made any other time, which means it's for an hour and 20-minute class. It was, the same number of questions, maybe one extra one. Anyways, and it the same format that we had last time. The exam opens tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and closes Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. You have 2 hours to take it at your convenience, so hopefully that'll work out for whenever, you're all doing lots of different things, so whatever wait time that works out for you. If you have any issues with that, let me know, or concerns about you being able to get the exam turned in, or if something happens to your computer and you can't turn it in, I will work with you. Like, we're all dealing with the stuff that happening last minute. So I think that's it. So I guess I'm gonna open the floor to you guys. If you have any questions for the sorry, I saw Christina. Christina's imploring you all to do the evaluations. Yeah,
You said it opens tomorrow, correct?
What, Jacob?
You said it opens tomorrow? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I did that. I got to thinking about the fact that, like, if you don't have access to internet, or if you're having to go somewhere specific to access that, or maybe maybe you're working. I don't know what your personal life is. And so I wanted to make sure that, like, you're not just stuck on Thursday and having to scramble Thursday night at 10 o'clock because that's the only time you had a chance to do it. And so I wanted to give you as much time as possible to work on that. And so I wanted to make sure it was opened up a little earlier than last time. I also extended the time to address any shortcomings we had from last time as well. So any other questions?
No, that's nice because I have 2 exams and 2 projects due Thursday. So
yeah, it's a rough weekend, and there's a lot of things about, we're not supposed to give it. I see your hand, Christina. I will holler at you in a minute, but no, you're fine. I just saw you took your mic off to ask a question, but I know it's the last week, and normally what would have happened is you would have had a presentation on Thursday, and we would have had this exam earlier, like probably last Thursday, and so you would have had it a week early, but because we didn't have because we were doing presentations, I just pushed it back to give you more time to have more material because I didn't want to rush through that. So sorry that things are all kind of shoved in the last minute, but you don't have a presentation, so I feel like that kind of should help out a little bit. Not on top of all the other things you have to do. So sorry, Jacob, for throwing one more thing on your pile.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's just, that's how school ends up anyways.
Yeah. So my goal, yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, it's end of the year. It's evaluations of, like, did you learn the things that you're supposed to learn, correct or not? So yeah, Christina, did you have a question?
Yeah, can we go over exactly what you want for this part of the project?
Yeah, let me open that. 42. So make sure that I'm, like, telling you the right thing. Course project. So, no, wait, did I? I didn't. I said put it in the announcements. Let me do this. Evaluation. I also threw announcements. The evaluation bonus is also in the announcements. So the final project is you'll have some kind of advertisement for new or existing products. So you should have some kind of develop some kind of advertising model, or some kind of marketing scheme for a new product or an existing product, and just saying and promoting that in some way, or a brand advertisement marketing, something along those lines. And then I should have a 3 to 5 page written paper like we've had, including an appendix where it says what you all did. And then it should talk about how this advertising, basically it's a write-up discussing like what you did in terms of your advertisement. So in a presentation is what I would have normally gotten a lot of this from, is you're going to tell me what the advertisement is, who are you targeting with the advertisement, how does that align with the firm's current advertisement marketing campaigns, and so and their strategies and goals. And so the idea is, don't come up with like a crazy advertisement that doesn't align with the firm you're doing. So, Matt does John Deere, right? John Deere is not going to have an advertisement the same that you would put out for Nike, right? Like those are not the same. Those are not the same people they're targeting. They're not the same, core values. They're not the same types of advertisements that you're going to want. The types of values you want to instill, right? Like John Deere is probably going to instill a lot of this like tradition and excellence, and this very big, and like Nike's like, oh, we're pressing the bounds, right? Like go big, go home, just do it, right? Like it's two different types of customers and goals and their strategies that they're going for. And so part of your write-up is describing how that aligns with what they're already doing. So you should have some idea of like, here's advertisements that they're currently doing. And I don't mean necessarily just mean TV marketing. It could be any type of marketing. So if your marketing strategy is to do some kind of huge billboard in Cumberland, right, on Cumberland, and it's going to paint, what's another color? Chiquita bananas, right? And you're going to have a big Chiquita banana billboard. First of all, you shouldn't, because it's totally going to get effaced. But if you had a big Chiquita banana billboard, how does that align with Chiquita Banana's marketing efforts already, right? And so you're going to have to kind of defend what you did, and how and also just how it's going to be executed, and we're kind of describing the market strategy. It's very broad ranges for what I'm talking about, but the idea is you're telling me what you're doing, you're defending what it is and how it aligns with your firm.
Do you want us to kind of make like a graphic to go along with it, or is it just like a paper?
No, it would be, I know, it's not just a paper. So the idea is you're turning in some kind of advertisement or some kind of marketing. So that, in class, it might've been, a lot of people design things in PowerPoint and they just give me the one PowerPoint slide or create it into a PDF. I've had some people like, I mean, you could do whatever you want. I mean, that was part of the idea, was this was supposed to be creative. So I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into what you have to do, but whatever type of advertisement you were going to do, you would send that to me. So if for instance, you were like, man, we really want radio advertisement and we're just going to record some kind of radio advertisement and we're going to sing and do some kind of jingle, I guess you send me the MP3 of the jingle and then write up why you had this jingle and how it fits in. So again, that might not be really great for Chiquita Bananas, but maybe a jingle for John Deere on the tractor radio show on the AM FM, radio, or RFID TV, rural RFI, what is it? The rural TV channel. Yeah.
So we're creating one and not basing it, but like, so it's going to be an analysis of like the one that we create, not one that's already in existence, correct?
Correct. It's one you're creating. So the idea is you create some kind of marketing strategy, or so that's whether it's an advertisement, a jingle, whatever. And again, I'm not pigeonholing you what you have to do, but some kind of advertisement, and then describe to me what that strategy was, why you chose that strategy, how it fits in with the other strategies, how it fits in with the goals and firms.
Now, can we tie in? So like, say we want to make a commercial, like, I mean, I don't think I can make a commercial, but like, can I explain to how, like, what it would be, and like use a similar one that, like, say we're going to try to stay in the same ballpark as their other ads. Could we do something similar to that? But then I would like explain like what would be different about it, or should I just like not include something that would be similar to it?
It's a good question. Because the whole idea was to show how you would do this. And so what you're doing, I mean, because what I'm thinking what you're telling me is that you're like, here's this other, and then you're going to describe in a paper how like you're going to modify that and turn it into your product. I think that would be like supplementary or like an appendix, but like, I think what you could do that, you could send this, but then I would still want to see something like, I don't know, like a main page of like, you know, kind of like a screenshot of like, this is what it would look like if it was our product, right?
Yeah,
and like you have some
exactly.
kind of hanky over, you know, I don't care if it's a hanky, like we crop this and put another picture on top of another picture and it looks bad, right? But then it's really showing like, this is what it would look like. And think about it like, if you're pitching an advertisement, you don't develop it before you market it. Like you don't create the advertisement before you are sold. You're still, at Hillshire, people came to us and said, hey, we're going to market your new hot dogs, right? They didn't already have a commercial. They said, this is what we think we're going to have for your commercial. And what they would have would become some kind of like main page and then kind of like a draft or like some sketches. I'm not asking you to do all the sketches, but you could do, so to your point, if that's what you want to do is some kind of commercial. If you have some kind of like main page, like a storyboard of like, this is what we want to do. And it's just like the same product. And you, an example of this, somebody did something for Bud Light wine last year. That was their product. They were Anheuser, and then they made a Budweiser wine, and it was Bud wine. And what they did was they took a Budweiser still of a commercial, and then they just cropped in a little wine over the light, and so it was Bud wine. And then they're like, this is it. And then they would talk about how they would do an advertisement. Now theirs was a presentation, obviously. So you could do
I just like, I can create, like we can create an infographic, but like as far as like a video would be like, I don't necessarily, I'm not good enough to that, but like, yeah, creating like an infographic or like a page that would just have like what we would want it on there. I can do that.
Yeah, something
I'm
like
good
that.
enough in
Like
Photoshop to do that.
yeah, and I mean, like you can do like, and if somebody wants to do a commercial, I would use it for all time and be like, this is a really fun commercial somebody made, and I would showcase it all the time. All my friends, but no, I'm just kidding. But you know, like, I mean, if you want to, you're welcome to. I just, I think the easiest thing, especially with everybody being away, you know, might not be to create a whole commercial, but I'm open for it. So anyways.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody have any more questions about anything really? Project or class in general? This is a really great review session. Okay, so here's the deal. If you don't ask for review questions, I'm gonna probably just start lecturing you on segmentation. So does anybody have any review questions for this exam?
Are there going to be any quantitative stuff on there? Like the, what is it? Like the math problems part of it. I can't find my notes on it. Oh, where is that?
Yeah, so there will be, there's one, let me make sure I'm not lying to you. I know there's one for sure. There is, most of it is descriptive and like you're having to describe to me what's happening or like using concepts from class. There is one where, because we went over break-even analysis, we went over break-even and margins of safety and things like that. And so there's one question that is going to make you calculate something. So I would review that.
The graph that we went over last time in class, like the generation stuff, are we going to need to be able to give a couple of examples of that type of stuff?
So yeah, so that's a good question. So the last part of class, we definitely is going to be on the exam and both parts. So we talked about how generations are going to affect how you market and who you're marketing to, and we talked about how they have these different, these different things in their life. And so if you're trying to market or that have influenced how they make decisions, right? Like, so the argument is that your generation, the Great Recession was a big deal in your, I mean, it affected all of us, but like, it's kind of a tenet of your generation, which is one of the reasons why your generation is typically bigger on savings. Like you're a bit more financially conservative than like the millennial generation. Now, I mean, obviously you're not in the like huge workforce yet. You're moving into that, but there's a lot of evidence to show that because you came from a generation where things were really rocky, right? Like when you were young, and so it kind of taught you a little bit in the same way that like my grandparents grew up through the Depression, so everything was like super penny pinching and super. You always had lots of stuff because you didn't know if something bad was about to happen, and so demographics for sure. I'd want to know how those are going to impact like how we market or how we think of things. The last bit of class, we talked about the product cycle and the hype cycle. And we talked about how, you know, for the product cycle and the hype cycle, that we use those as an understanding of how products are going to enter in the market, how they're valuable. And then for like the hype cycle, how we generate interest in a product, right? And so like we talked about this connection between, which isn't like none of this is totally one question, but like this connection between that, you know, you're creating a product and there's this like super big excitement, and then it's like, oh, okay, and we drop off and then we hit like this plateau, right? Like that's basically the hype cycle. And we did a lot more description on that. So if you want to go over that again, we can. You know, but the idea is that we're creating this interest in products, and how that, and then maybe think of an examples of anything, like an example of how we go through the product cycle, an example of how we go through the hype cycle, or an example of how you might market something to different generations. I guess the question is everybody good with those things, or do we need to talk about like those cycles again?
I mean, I'm good because I took notes last class and stuff like
Right.
that, so I don't. But I don't do the whole class.
Yeah, well, and like everything is online too. So again, you go to the Zoom link or the Zoom page on Canvas. It's at the very top. There's a link for the playlist, and if you go out there, all of the classes are online. All in all of their glory, all of the singing and nonsense is out there. At some point, I feel like I will delete those all, because I don't, in perpetuity seems kind of strange, and I don't think people outside of our class are going to be super vested in like wanting to hear how we lectured and things. But anyways, so yeah. Any other questions then? No, nobody has any questions. I mean, it's fine. Like if you all feel super confident, like I'm not upset about it. I'm going to take that as I rock as your teacher, and I've done a great job of explaining everything, and you just are like killing it. Yeah, well then, okay, then if you want to, let's lecture then. You think of more questions and I'll get my notes out in case we want to finish up any last thing. I mean, I won't keep you the whole time because that seems silly, but I did have one final section to talk about that we didn't get to because, well, actually I had a whole bunch of things, but we're going to skip around. Skip around. Jump around. Jump, jump, jump around. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Going once. This is your chance to ask any review questions. Going twice. Sold. Okay. Well then here, let's I will let's start screen sharing. Hold on, let me get to your class note here. That's what I want. And let me here screen share. iPad. Yeah. Every time it asks me to like install the plugin, and you're like, can't the plugin just be installed? I installed it last time. Anyways, just a thing. All right. Back at it again. Let me open. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Let me open up the little chatty box too, in case you all start talking to me over there. So yeah. So last time we finished on this part where we talked about this again. What we just went over this product life cycle, which is the R&D, introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. And products will go through this. And what we see sometimes is in the market is somebody reinventing and kind of pushing it back to the beginning. And so we see this maturity, and then sometimes it's people have to fight to not do the decline. So an example of that might be Coca-Cola, right? It's been around forever, and there was a point where like Coca-Cola sales started going off. And what they do is they have to kind of reinvest some kind of interest to keep it at the maturity level, right? They're not going to grow again. They're in the market. They just want to stay at this kind of peak, or they stay in this maturity level, and they don't want to decline off. And to do that, they use this hype cycle where we have this, this trigger of like interest in the product, right? We kind of hit our peak of the things that we thought how cool this product was. We go through the trough of disillusionment, and then we go through the slope of enlightenment, which are these fancy ways of just saying like, we hit our high and then we tank out, and then we're like, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as we thought, right? and then we kind of come back up to this plateau of productivity. And so that was what we finished with. Another side of this that I didn't get into in terms of, and I'm not going to make you redraw it. Well, I might draw this. Again, this part is not on your exam. I mean, I could make it part of your exam. I don't think so right now. I think it's just I'm finishing a lecture because you didn't have any questions. Was this idea of how we think about competition as it ties in as well to these different curves. So we have this product curve, this product life cycle up here, right? And then what we are going to do is say something like, so I'm trying to think of where we are. R&D, intro, growth, maturity, and decline / death, because we like to be morbid. And so what we also can show is this and so this is sorry. So what we have are sales and then time. So what we're showing here is this idea of the same thing which we have already shown, right? That we have these different stages that we have up here, although my graphic looks a lot better up there than it does down here. You know, this R&D kind of goes back from the introduction or this idea of, and we're actually going to say that this is 0 here. Ooh, perfect college. So what we have is this kind of this idea that we're going to go through our research and development during this kind of this first stage here is really when we have monopoly power. I can't spell. And it doesn't look very nice. Hold on, I'll erase it and write it bigger. So this is when we have this monopoly, and they can really extract rents, because this is the point where it's not really in the market. Nobody else is, you're the front line. Nobody else can even try to imitate it yet, because it really hasn't been introduced in the market, right? You're in the R&D stage. This is where I might start promoting the product. I might start it to get out there. I'm beta testing it. And it isn't until you actually hit the market, this introduction stage, where anybody can start competing. So let's draw show the competitors here. And so that black line is us, right? And this is how competitors come in. And these are competitors. And we call this the competition stage, or the competition. The reason why we have these while we're delineating, is that the product is going over, and the total product, right, curve is going to include both of these, the competition and you as an innovator. In terms of new technology, in terms of like you as an individual firm, you are going to have, you basically are suffering through, you come out with this really great idea and you're going to be able to get the rents, but immediately somebody can, as soon as it comes on the market, somebody can imitate your product. That was a problem with niche marketing, right? These other types of things, and people can start imitating your good. Well, when I imitate your good, I learn how to make it cheaper, faster, better, right? And I improve on it. So think about it this way. The first smartphone, or the first kind of mass general popularized smartphone, right, was the BlackBerry. How many of us in class have BlackBerries? I've asked this before. None of you did. None of you had BlackBerries, right? We don't have them now, but why? They were the innovators. They were the who came out with the access to email on your phone. Whoa, blow your mind, right? They should arguably be in charge of the market. But and we can argue lots of reasons why BlackBerry hasn't succeeded in maintaining its market force. But another thing is that people started competing, saying, oh, listen, we can also put technology in our phone so you can check your email. We can do this so you can, and then you start seeing like somebody like Apple comes out with like a touch phone, right? Like it's a touch screen, and it says blow everybody's mind away with the first iPhone. And then it starts being competed against, and then now competed against. And so now you see this market competition where they're all kind of arguably very similar, right? Like now we could argue that there's differentiation, and that there's reasons why you might prefer an iPhone over a Google Pixel, or prefer over a Samsung, or you might prefer Samsung over Google. Like you might prefer whatever, and you can do that on lots of preferences. But one of the arguments in terms of the innovating firm versus the competition is that the innovating firm has to really get their profits in this section here. Because if they are not getting their profits there and they're not recouping, they're going to still make money over here, right? They're still making money. They're just not making as much money as they would have if competitors aren't coming out. So we have the total product cycle, but we're really trying to compare against the competing firm and against the innovating firm. And really the innovating firm is getting a whole bunch all at first. And the argument that people make with patents is that patents basically push back that space between the time in which somebody can start competing, right? So that they can get more of that profit before competitors come out. And the argument is, how long should that space be, in types of things like that, or recouping their costs, especially with like an argument with like drugs or something, when they should be, some people argue that they weren't developed through their own cost, that they were being given some government funding. That's a different story for a different day. So with that is kind of the end of the cycles, and I wanted to go away. What I wanted to talk about as the kind of final bit, because we're not talking about anything anyways, is this idea of segmentation. Segmentation. And so what it is, when we talk about market segmentation, is that we're saying, hey, the entire market is something, right? So let's say that this box, I have this really cheesy, or not cheesy example. I have, this whole box are all customers. So we have this box of all customers, and we could say that we're targeting all the customers, right? So when we talk about this kind of idea, who we're going to target, we're targeting all customers. But the truth is that we really can start segmenting those customers up. We can differentiate those customers by, here, let's do colors here, because I got all these things. So we can do, maybe this box here are, what do I have? Oh, not that one. Sorry. Active, long-time customers. So these are going to be people who have been around for a long time. And then maybe we have this set of customers. I don't know, I'm coloring. I should really just have drawn lines. I got excited about using all my technology. Maybe this is going to be reactivated customers. Remember when we talked about getting a customer that has left you and convincing them to come back to you? Maybe that's what these are. So maybe that's this group. And maybe we have, registered yesterday. Or maybe this is new customers. Maybe this is, I'm just making these things up, low tier customers. Maybe these are, VIP customers, people we're going to bend over backwards for. I don't know. I mean, we're not like, I'm giving you some examples of how we, these are called churns. So people who are about to leave, like people who are who are part of your customer right now that are like thinking about leaving. So either have just left or like are about to leave, we might consider those. And there are different ways we can think about like the values of these different customers and different that exist. And this isn't the only way to segment. I'm going to show you segmentation in a second. But the idea is that we don't just have one set of all customers. So when you tell me you're going to market to people, are like, yeah, they're marketing. It's to everybody. It's like, well, it's not to everybody because you're not ever marketing to all people. Like we might think like, sure, if everybody gets it and they like it, that's great. But, I'm going to focus. We talked about, who was it? Comcast, right? Or Xfinity or whatever, internet service you have, new customers are getting super good deals, right? That's a way that they're targeting new customers. Now, what do they do for long-time customers? Usually not a lot. So when they talk about like this marketing, they're not really marketing for somebody who's already, subscribing to their service. They're marketing for people who are not subscribing to their service. And so when I worked, we talked a lot about market segmentations, about ways in which we had separated people out. And we had 5 different customers, and I'm going to go through those in just a second. But I wanted to kind of just really quickly, ways in which we can, ways to segment. Does anybody want to tell me what you think? I mean, because we've already just talked about in terms of, as a customer, or customer status, because that's what we did above. We're all customer statuses. Does anybody would tell me another way that you might think about how we might segment people in terms of our customers? I'm not supporting race prejudice or that we should segment people in the population in general, just for reference, just only for marketing purposes here.
Did you say like price discrimination to see like which package they take?
Yeah, so I'm going to go a step further. So price discrimination is based on what?
Their
Income.
elasticity?
Yeah, but like oftentimes price discrimination is it's if we're doing price discrimination based on their customer status, that's one thing, right? You benefit from price discrimination a lot because you get to get student discounts, right? That's a way to price discriminate. So I'm going to step that discrimination is really based on these other things we discriminate or we can segment on, which would be like, go away, demographics. Like think about age, education status, right? I get benefits sometimes for being a faculty member. Sometimes they'll let me get books for cheaper because I'm going to use them in class. We might think of family size. Sometimes they give you a discount if you have more people, right? We might think of, I'm going to say occupational, so that in there. Veterans get discounts, price discrimination. The things we think about how you can discriminate in price, those are demographics. That's also how we can segment people. We can say we're targeting people of a certain age or a certain education or certain family size or anything else, and we can market to those people specifically. Does anybody want to think about another way we might segment the market? Location, yeah, Heather throw that out there. Yeah, location. I'm going to call this greater name, like a broader name, and call it geographics. And we might think of something like country, city, language, population. Think of like urban and rural, climate, right? We might say the location is going to be a way we can segment people. I'm probably not going to try to go sell ice scrapers in Florida. It's probably not a place to market my goods. I'm probably not going to advertise for ice scrapers in Florida, right? Like that's not. I'm also probably not going to advertise hurricane relief parties in Wisconsin, right? It's not going to fit because location-wise, I'm segmenting the market by the things that they're going to deal with. What's another one you think? Has anybody ever saw an advertisement for skydiving? Consumer preference, Nate. Yeah, so I'm going to use that, and like we're going to talk about that as Nathan said consumer preference, and I'm going to lump it in here to this. There's actually two ones, and I'm going to lump it into this one. Psychographics. And we're going to call these things like your attitudes, right? Like these preferences, lifestyle, your values. These psychographics are these things in which we have these consumer preferences for things, right? So when we talked about the your consumer status, that's also a type of consumer preference or behavioral. But these psychographics are these things of like, I'm going to target Easter things at Judeo-Christian groups of people, right? I'm probably not going to target Easter marketing towards people of Islamic faith. It's just not, it's not good marketing for me. I'm probably going to advertise some kind of lifestyle thing. I'm not going to advertise skydiving to everybody because not everybody is you know, an adrenaline junkie. But like on YouTube videos that are showing people doing crazy things, that's where you want to advertise, right? You're going to target those people who have certain preferences or attitudes towards things. In terms of foods, it's the same way. Like you might, how many times have you all been advertised 5-star Michelin restaurants? I don't eat a 5-star Michelin. I don't have the money, and I'm pretty sure I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And so, right, like because that's not the type of attitude or consumer preference that I am putting into the world. And so Facebook isn't trying to sell me on these super fancy restaurants, right? Because it's a type of attitude and a lifestyle. Now, it's definitely really going to try to sell me on like Chick-fil-A's new sweet tea, you know, I don't know, shake, because it's like, yeah, you seem to go there a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I probably do, you know. So these are ways, like kind of these, the other one is this customer status, and we're going to call that behavioral. So the kind of the behavior you're doing, like how you've already been purchasing. So we have these demographics, geographics, and psychographics, where really we're saying, we're trying to understand how people consume, how they, what communities, what kind of, the groups of people that want to buy your product, right? And it's not, you know, sometimes I think people think it's only racial, and it's not a racial thing. It's tied to the culture behind that, right? So, you know, I think sometimes in traditional historical ways, we have had marketing that's been based on race, right? That's it's farmers are predominantly, you know, Caucasian descendants, right? And so this idea is like, well, yeah, but farmers can be anything, right? Like there's all sorts of farmers. What you need to market to is just farmers in general, and not be specific towards, you know, one race or another. The same way when we talked about the shift from marketing to men in terms of grocery shopping to marketing to women, and now we're just shifting to like, hey, how about we just market to people who are doing the grocery shopping? And it might be the woman and it might be a man, but it's just the predominant, you know, grocery shopper, and let's market to them, and let's be specific to them. So we want to think like a customer, and the idea is when we talk about this marketing, you know, you think like a customer, but you have to remember that not all the customers are you, right? Like if I'm marketing to, if I'm asking you to market Sara Lee pound cake, right? The people who are eating Sara Lee pound cake are going to be older than 60. They're going to be retired people. So you're not going to market the same way you're going to market to yourself, right? Like that demographic is very different. And so you have to be aware that like, just because you would market it that way to yourself doesn't mean that would be an successful marketing strategy. So I'm going to go into who are customers. And this is kind of just the final thing that I had for the class. Who are customers? And we're going to name them. So one is, we're going to call them the loyal customer. One second. You know, they represent they're going to keep buying from you no matter what. They represent less than 20% of customer base. That's kind of sloppy. Let me reread all that. Loyal customers these are the people who are just going to keep buying from you no matter what. They're going to represent less than 20% of the customer base. They're the ones who, you know, they represent such a small portion of your base, but make up more than 50% of sales. So this kind of comes back to that idea of when you're only focusing on new customers, right? And you're trying to advertise or market or trying to grow your shares, you can't forget your current customers because they're making up 50% of your sales. So if you ignore your current customers, this is why when people switch goods, this is why AT&T fights so hard to keep you and makes it it's a huge process. If I have done it, it is a huge, long process and you're so angry by the end of it. You're like, just get me off of my phone plan. Because they don't want to lose you because they're making so much money off of you. And so what they're trying to do is maybe sure that they're, the customer base that they're trying to target, they're trying to get all these new of the total market, but they're wanting to get, my sales are important. A second one is going to be the discount customer. We can also call this the, AKA the bargain hunter. This is the person who's always looking for the deal. They shops frequently, but decide on purchases based on price. So as their name suggests, they're super price conscious. These are people who are going to either looking at your products are going to say, no, even if they like your product, they're going to say no because it's not the right price, or they're looking for a discount. Oftentimes, these people are low income. They're making small purchases. These people aren't, unless it's a super sale, they're not buying in bulk. I mean, I think that comment could probably change now that we have this big, what's extreme couponer people. So it's not all of this is perfectly going to fit. Yeah, price is the primary focus of this group. They're looking for that low price. And so that's what they're looking for. That's the bar none. These are the people who are going to go shop around to all the different places and find the lowest price. And it doesn't necessarily matter about quality or things such as that. Does anybody have any questions for me? Because I've just been talking a lot. I should give everybody. Okay. So, anybody else? Matthew?
With all the companies that like for us, for instance, that have to bid a lot of things out and get multiple prices, would you fall into the discount customer? Because you definitely don't fall into the low income, but you definitely fall into the shopping for the best price.
Yeah. So somebody like that, like who's getting a bid out, they're looking for, so oftentimes are looking for the lowest price. Now the deal is arguably, if they're bidding it out, it shouldn't be solely based on price. It should also be based on quality and what you're doing and the services you're going to offer. The reason why we would lump them into the discount customer is when they make the decision only on price. So like if you're bidding out to them and you're like, listen, I'm going to do all this work, but at the end of it, you're not going to need to resurface your grass for 3 years. I don't know. And somebody else is like, oh, I'll do it for half the price, but you're going to have to do it again next year. Right? Like the price conscious says, oh, I don't care about the future. I just want the cheapest price right now. And so, yeah, I could see bidding things happening like that.
Right.
Anything else anybody wants to add to that conversation? Okay. Our third customer, we're going to call the, I have these other segments, and so I'm trying to like match them up right now. I think we're going to switch down to these other ones because we can kind of tie them. There's more fun to talk about. So let's call this a convenience customer or convenience seeker. This is value, convenience. I can't spell convenience. E-E-N-I-E-N. Convenience, in delivery, ordering, shopping, etc. These are people who want everything to be super easy. This is the person who's like, oh, I can buy that online and you just drop it straight to my car. Great. Now I know that we have also moved into that for like families and things, but like as a value, so these are typically high income customers because those convenience values are at a price, right? Right? Like it costs more to have delivery straight to your door versus to your car, right? Like it's going to cost more to have something overnighted versus in regular postal mail. And so these are people who are going to typically have long relationship with your brand or with your firm relationship, and large referrals. So these are the type of people that you're going to make a lot of money off of, right? Because if you're going to cater and you're going to offer all of these convenience things and they have an easy way to get your product and easily, they're going to become these type of customers that are going to try and turn into that loyalist customer because they're looking for the most convenient thing. And then they're going to refer you to everybody else because they're going to, oh, listen, Kroger's is going to deliver your grocery store to your groceries to your car and they'll shop for you, right? These are the people who are posting it on, Facebook. And again, these are people who can afford to pay for the extra luggage. Now, I don't think the grocery store thing where they bring it to your car costs anymore. I don't know. I also don't do it, but I don't think so, unless somebody wants to correct me. But initially did, right? Initially, in order to get your groceries delivered to your car, you had to pay an extra fee. And so this kind of idea of what a type of customer. Let's go to number 4. Let's call these a brand buyer. This is somebody who's going to buy brands, not price sensitive. This is that kind of conspicuous consumption, right? They want to consume, they name brand. They don't care that the cheap one tastes the same or looks the same or feels the same. They want the brand, right? They typically, again, high income because they can, high income. I have this note. I didn't create this, just for reference. This is one of these things where it's often male. And I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I could see where, what is everybody else's thought? I mean, I didn't, again, this is from somebody else. They said that these brand buyers are high income, more often male, that they are, I'm going to want your opinion on being male versus female. They're expensive to get as customer. Right? So I'm gonna just pay a lot to convince these to become my customer. But it pays off through referrals and purchases. So the idea, that looks like potatoes, purchases, through referrals and purchases. So the idea of brand buyers is that they buy the brands, they're not price sensitive, they have high income, arguably often male, which I want to know your opinion on this. And they're expensive to get as a customer, right? Because you're going to convince them that you're the brand that everybody wants. But once you get them as a customer, then now they're dedicated to you, right? They're going to buy from you all the time because you're the brand. You're the brand that everybody should be buying. And that they're oftentimes going to refer you to other people as well. So you have this value of not only are you getting one customer, but you're getting kind of their referrals or the people that they're going to bring over to your side. So remember when we talked about, I think it was Mary Lynn who talked about evangelical marketing. And we talked about, Mary Lynn, you said that, right? I can't see you. You're below my screen. Did you shake your head, Marilyn? Okay, it was you. Okay, sorry. I found you now. Okay, I'm back up to. And so we have these. So the idea, that's what you want. These brand buyers are your evangelical people. So getting this evangelical marketing, you're trying to convince these people to become your brand loyalist. So they go out and tell everybody else that you want them. They tell everybody about how awesome your brand is, right? So my question is, do you actually think that they're more male than female? Nathan has put in the chat boxes. Probably depends on the product. There are things. There are lots of things that men don't care about, and that's part of the reason why I wondered if it wasn't true. I worked at a grocery store for 4 years, and more often than not, I saw really price conscious consumers, men. So it's not all men, obviously. But I knew husband and wives, and so I would see them both coming in at different times. And when the husbands came in, they almost always bought the name brand stuff, and the wives came in, they would buy like a mix of things back and forth. And I imagine it was just tied to like, I don't know, I came to get macaroni and cheese with this Kraft macaroni and cheese. Yeah, Matthew agrees with me. Does anybody have a different thought on that?
I mean, like outside the grocery store, I mean, I know like women like the expensive purses and jewelry, and like, but guys like the expensive Rolexes, and like you tend to buy more expensive things like outside of grocery stores. I know that, but I don't know about like in the grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any facts to back any of these things up I'm saying right now. I'm just thinking. Christina, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so I feel like whenever I go to the store with my boyfriend, sometimes it's like pulling teeth to try to get him to change like what items he gets. Or he just kind of goes in and grabs something, and I'm like, hold on, bud. We got to look. We have to find the good price. I have to think about everything whenever I go shopping. And he hates it because I take so long.
Yeah, I shop by myself, and I take forever, and I don't like it when I have to go and be rushed because I like to think about all of the things and weigh out my decisions. I think that there's probably a good point here in terms of it's a super general statement, which is why it like caught me off guard, because none of the rest are like, these are more likely women. It's like, why is this one more likely male? Because I could see it depends on the type of good in the product, right? Like I imagine that, for certain products, maybe women are more like, no, this is what you get, or maybe for men. So I think that seems a little bit phooey, but moving on to the next one, unless anybody else has another comment on that. That's 4. Let's go to number 5, and these are casual buyers. These people are we're also going to call them AKA wandering buyers or wandering customers. They're not in it for price or brand. So they're not tied to like a price. They're not tied to a brand. No strong desire. It's their shopping or their as a customer is more the sense of the experience / community. And I know everybody has to, if we're thinking about the grocery store, everybody has to get food, but and I relate to how this relates to the grocery store. For this group, there's small spending growth. And one of the things that I remember from working at Hillshire is no lists. So this wandering customer, right? This is the person who's been in the desert for 50, and they're just like walking around. They're just like looking at all the things. They're like, oh, this end cap. And they're the ones with again, we're relating to a grocery store, but like with just random stuff. And you're like, what the heck are you doing? Are you like a kid with like $5 and you found every piece of candy you possibly can, right? Like these are people who they're not structured. They're not thinking about things. They're just kind of meandering around, which means that you don't have a lot of growth with them as a customer because they're not loyal to you. They're peppering their stuff. They saw your brand, they picked it up, and they're going to move on. And even if they liked it, the likelihood that they come back and buy that same exact thing is because the next time they're going to see a different brand and be like, oh, I'll try that, right? They're not loyalists. They're the people with no lists, right? So I remember doing this evaluation at work, and I was between this one and can't remember what my other one was, and it wasn't but I was partly this, and they were like, and this guy was in marketing, and he was like, we hate you as a customer. He was like, because it's really hard to market to you, because I can convince you to try it, but you're gonna like, meander around and find something else, and the next time you're gonna try the other brand, right? Like you're not tied to just us. And I was like, it's probably pretty true. I mean, there are things that I buy the same over and over, or that, this is my rock. I like Hellman's mayo. I'm gonna eat Hellman's mayo. But and everybody's gonna everybody's gonna have their rock they're gonna stand on and be like, this is it. But in terms of just overall, like, it's really hard to you're not trying to target these casual buyers, right? Now you're gonna get some picked up sales from them, but they're not the people who are gonna keep coming back for the same good. Now, I'm not a total casual buyer, like I do have lists and other things, but yeah, but that's another type. And I have one more. And we're going to call this, so number 6, we're going to call this the relationship seeker. And this is, why are we calling them that? Tied to retailer, promotions, and suggestions. So think about it, you go in the store and there's the like, here's a recipe, try this, buy this sausage and eat it with this other thing. And they put the two things together, and they're the type of people like, yeah, let me try that. And they'll get them together because they're trusting you as a grocery store to give them good ideas, right? Like they're they've molded their relationship with the retailer in order of buying these things and these promotions together. And so they're really influenced. Maybe another way we could think about them is they're really I don't want to say influential like they're influencing other people. They're influential like they're being influenced very easily, like easily influence people. Like these are the customers that are like, oh, hey, it's summertime, don't forget your ice. I'm like, oh yeah, I need ice, right? Like it's, they're the ones who, like, when you put out there like, it's ice cream season, right? They're like, yeah, it's ice cream season, I should go eat ice cream, right? They're very influenceable. Influence. I don't actually know. Let me just try to rewrite that again, because I might not spell it correctly anyway, but that was just horrendous. Influence. They're influenceable. And they're also like small growth room, because they're not tied to always the brands or the types of goods, because they're pretty influenced by the market, by like, oh, I should buy ice cream. Sure. Okay, well, this one's on sale, right? So they might be slightly price conscious. So we think about these different people and how we market to them. And I promise you, this is what marketers look at. They literally have, and they're going to rename them. They're going to call them all different things. This is just one group's, naming of them. And they're going to call them the big family shopper. And those are going to be your super price conscious people with lists. And they're going to be, people who are going to look only at the prices. We might call them, and they were going to break out by demographics and age and, and location and all of those other, those affix, maybe demographics, geographics, psychoaffics, that we had talked about. But altogether, like the idea, to talk about in terms of customer segmentation for this class is that we talk about all this marketing, we talk about all these different ways to market. And the idea is marketing is only successful if you know who you're going to market to. If you're able to find your customers and say, okay, how am I going to best communicate with my customers, right? I'm a brand, I have these goods, and I want to know what is the best way for me to communicate with them that I have this product that they really need, and convince them to become loyalist, right? Convince them to always buy my product because I'm superior. And if that's, getting a brand buyer, and that type of person isn't a loyalist, right? They're not loyal to your brand. But once you convince them that your brand is the one that they need to buy, right? Now, once somebody else convinces them that your brand is not the one they need to buy, they're going to jump off. but for the time being, they're going to go evangelize about your brand everywhere. And I think about it in like, my friend is not, I wouldn't call him a brand. Like he doesn't buy a lot of branded things. I bet he does buy branded things in the grocery store. He's the type of guy to be like, I don't know, you know, he would just buy the brand because he's seen that name in commercials before. But he's the type of guy that adopts something new and then wants to convince everybody how awesome it is and convince everybody to do the same thing he's doing, right? So if he found, you know, he one time found this new, I remember him talking about, it was his whiskey, and I don't even know where he found this whiskey. I think it had like peach in it or something, and he thought this was the bee's knees. He convinced everybody about it. Like, I mean, everybody had to try it, and you know, and I guarantee that there were people who tried it that liked it and that will go back and buy it. He's a brand shopper, right? He's one that found this brand. He convinced everybody to get it, and then he found another brand. Well, the people that he convinced that was the brand that they should try, they might become your loyalists, and that's how we think about that segmentation. And there's no good or bad customers. These aren't like, those are not customers we care about. Like, these are all people we care about because they're all sales that we can have. But it's just the idea of like, we're going to market to these different segments differently. That is the end of what I have for this class. So, you know, I wanted to cover, because I think segmentation, maybe for your papers or presentations, where I think we're also pretty potentially valuable, or just something that you might want to think about. And you could include, let me stop my share here. Does everybody have these notes? I assume so. Okay, I see. I'm gonna stop my share here. So that was it for the class. I thought that would be helpful for your papers, which is why I thought we should cover it since we finished with everything anyway. I have food news if you want to hear food news, but I can also just let you go. We get, you know. So we're done. If anybody has interest in exam questions, I can still talk about the review. If you're not, you're free to go. Ethan asked if today's lecture will be on our test. As of right now, no. So I'm going to say that I'm not going to include market segmentation on our test. I think you might want to think about it in discussing in your paper, you know, at least putting some kind of something in there. I mean, I'm not going to, I can't tell you that I'm going to count points off because you didn't say segmentation. I think it would strengthen your papers if you included it in there. But no, I don't have a question about segmentation on the exam or whatever else is in it, or the competitor chart. There's no graphing in your exam. Now there's an explanation of those graphs, but no actual graphing, just BT dubs.
This is the last official class meeting, correct?
Yeah, this is the dealio, yo. Yeah, and to that point, I've enjoyed having in the class this semester. It's always fun. I like this class, and I think that each different iteration of this, I enjoy getting to know you all, because you bring a whole bunch of different aspects of the class out. So it's not, you know, my class last year looked very different than the class this year, and I enjoy that. Like, I enjoyed getting to know you all, and you know, I've enjoyed teaching you, and I'm sorry that we have COVID-19 junking up our semester, but I appreciate your, you know, kind of patience in working through it with me, and your patience, because I also have had to deal with a whole bunch of stuff, you know, in trying to make sure that we teach and that we get things. I hope you don't want food news, because my food news is on the floor over there now. I remember one of them. Anyways, so I've appreciated that. Also, a reminder, go to your evaluations if you want a bonus point. If also just because I appreciate them, or if not, just, you know, leave me, you know, do your thing. Anything else from anybody?
I may or may not see you next fall. If we're online, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. I can tell you that as of right now, I know that as faculty, we don't want to be online, you know, that we want to see it in person. I think that we all recognize that this is the best alternative to canceling everything altogether. But it is not the first best choice. This is the second best choice. This is what do we do now that our first best choice is gone? I also think that Jacob won't be the only one. And I think that concerns us in terms of, you know, it's not like my job still exists regardless of, I do research and things, but like, I think just in terms of like, that's part of what we do as a job. Like we enjoy teaching and we enjoy engaging with students. And so when you're not there, it's like, oh, that's a part of my life that's gone. And we would be disappointed by that as well. So I think that they're working on ways to reopen. And I think they're hoping by continuing to social distance now, it will make it so we can open up then. But I also don't have anything final on that. Anyways, I'm gonna miss your faces. I'm gonna give you my food news if nobody else has anything else, but I have to go pick it up on the floor. So hold on. Final little post-it note. Here's my food news for the day. Pillsbury's coming out with a new strawberry cheesecake cookie dough, which you can eat as dough or as cookies, which we always ate the cookie dough. Let's be clear, who in here didn't eat the cookie dough? But it officially said you could eat the cookie dough, which means that they're not using eggs in it, which is interesting. Maybe because it's cheesecake, or they're using something else to emulsify. Because that's what eggs do in terms of cooking. They emulsify. They connect things that are water-loving and water-hating and create a bond there of food cooking. I took a class about egg and meat technology. Second, there is a Twix Snickers flavored milk that's coming back. And I feel like this is going to be very decadent. But I also would probably, well, I'm not going to drink a lot of it because I'm lactose intolerant. But I feel like it would taste delicious if I was. I know, Nathan, that's sad. And then my third food news is that Aldi's is selling peach wine, and evidently it's the fruity drink that your heart has been desiring and delicious. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It looked nice. That was a comment that was on the post I saw about this. Oh, I felt like obligated to tell you because it's solid of them. I think it's also dirty rotten. I'm not a fan of Chipotle. I told you about my stance on Chipotle. But if you order a burrito from Chipotle and you use the code 4HEROES, they will, it's a buy one, give one. So they'll go give a burrito to hospital workers. That's nice. I still don't like Chipotle, but I will support that they are doing something. So if you like Chipotle and you want to do that, use the code 4HEROES and Chipotle will go give a burrito away for you to good people. Anybody's got food news? Because no, I'll let you go. It is also the end of class. We did literally have an entire class lecture, so. No, I feel like this is it. Well, I usually stay on until the end of class in case anybody has any final questions. So if you're done, I guess you could scoot on your own way. But, you know, I'm going to keep filling in space. That's what I'm going to do. Sing you off. Hey, bye, Jordan. Bye, Christina. It was lovely, to have you in class. And I will be sad that I won't see you in class anymore. But, be safe and healthy. Wash your hands, 20 seconds, wash the hands, knuckles. I should give them my spiel.
Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, so you have this band. Are you gonna share this music? I would listen to it. Are we not supposed to? The downstairs, not the basement.
The downstairs, yeah. We're working on it right now. That's like, so our goal of the current